Recovered Addict podcast. Jason Rigby here.
Duane Yardman-Frank.
And Duane, we're going to get into something I think, and you've shared this with me before, and you had brought this up, and it's something that I feel like every single person needs to understand. And that is doing deep self-inquiry when it comes to addiction.
Very powerful.
When you, just to kind of let people know, just like a brief overview of what is that deep self-inquiry? What does that look like?
Getting honest with myself, self-inquiry, what's really going on, starting to ask some questions in regards to my behavior, maybe even further than that, maybe in regards to my motive. Why am I behaving the way I am? Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? We like to say without a clear understanding of the problem, I don't have a clear direction to head in.
That's good.
For a solution. So
a clear understanding of the problem.
Correct.
I don't have, so in my addiction, it's just chaos and
it's
mayhem.
It's like navigating a spider's web. We talk about that a lot. I don't know how to navigate a spider's web. I just get stuck. But one of the nice tools that a self-inquiry affords me is getting my behavior, my motive, my actions down on paper, black and white. I can actually see that spider web.
Yes.
I can see my destructive nature.
100%.
And it's black and white right in front of me. It's like, you can be dishonest to yourself all you want, but here it is.
Yeah, and I want people to understand, we didn't come up with this. There's a lot of programs out there. There's a ton of them.
Absolutely.
That have these self-awareness practices of doing self-inquiry.
Yeah, and it's been a practice throughout thousands of years.
Yeah.
My wife is wonderful at this, and she helped me with some of the teachings. And she said, it's really important to give this stuff a place to live other than in my body.
That's really good.
Give this energy, give this whatever it is, anger, fear, resentment, selfishness, give it a place to live other than in my mind and in my body. So writing it down gives it someplace else to live. So not only is it a good, accurate description of me, I'm actually getting to see myself for the first time, maybe. But I also don't have to feel those emotions as intensely, because I'm starting to let them dissipate. I'm starting to get them out. How do I get some of these nasty emotions, these nasty feelings, this nasty vibration? How do I get out of that? Give it someplace else to live. I don't have to be the house for that negativeness anymore.
Yeah, because it's always like you're just kind of holding it in. Or it's like when you go to we were talking about going to the grocery store. When you go to the grocery store, the other day I went and I had a small list. Didn't write it down because I thought it was small and I forgot one item.
Yep.
There's just no clarity. If I have it written down on a list, and I have the list in front of me, whether it's on my phone or wherever, I can look and be like, check, check, check. Google Notes or something even has little check marks. You can make a grocery.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fantastic.
You could click and it checks it.
But that's the same as the clear direction. I have a clear direction to head in. I know what aisle I need to be in the grocery store.
Well, I like that whole spiritual side of things where you're getting it out of your body. Like, that is like very, very important in the sense of, and this is something that I've seen over and over and over again. I don't know how to do the next move, the next step. And so a lot of times what I do is I just react to what's happening around me. And I kind of play defensive instead of offensive. So I'm kind of like, it causes me to procrastinate. It doesn't, like you were talking about, I don't have clear direction. So I have no idea what the next play is or where I'm supposed to go, or even, and we'll get into this, even the things that I did in my past that led up to this result.
Very good.
Because we're going to talk about that too. But we'll do an introduction here and then we'll springboard off of this. Overcoming addiction is a journey that involves far more than just abstaining from a substance or behavior. Let's stop right there. Abstaining does not work.
No.
Try to abstain from sex for a very long time. Try to abstain from masturbation. They used to have that in these puritanical religious teachings and stuff where you need to abstain. You can only abstain for so long. You know, I mean, there's religions that are based off of that, where a person cannot be married.
Yes.
And you see what happens. It doesn't work.
Yeah,
you know, you're going against this innate evolutionary desire. And I want you to talk about this, because I think this is trying to abstain from, whether it's alcohol, porn, any of those things. What have you seen with abstinence? Like, if that's your primary core, like you're gritting down, trying to just abstain from things.
Yeah, grin and bear it.
Yeah.
It's a strategy. It's just usually a losing strategy.
Mm.
Very paradoxical. Winning strategy is kind of admitting that I can't fight this fight.
Right.
It's a very paradoxical solution. But the grin and bear it, and that I'm just going to abstain, that's a very like willpower focused ego message. Yes. And that message is very normal, especially in the new world. If you've ever played football, if you ever played any type of organized athletics, if you've ever been in a job with a hierarchical leadership structure, it's like, work harder, climb to the top. Come on, you can make more. Let's go. And we get really far on that type of behavior, and I can be very successful in that type of behavior. So it's easy to get caught up in the idea of, well, I'll just abstain and I'll be enough. But if I'm suffering from a true addiction, and I've gone down the rabbit hole enough in my unconscious behavior, in my selfishness, I'm not capable of stopping.
No,
I would not need help. I would not need to seek recovery if I could just stop on my own. If I could just apply abstinence and then my life got better.
Well, to me, it's also on a spiritual realm. The abstinence means I'm lacking from something.
Very good.
So whenever I'm saying I'm abstaining from something, it's like I'm not whole. You know, I have to do this action to be whole. You know, so I need to suffer and be in pain and abstain from this for me to be a good person. You know, and that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's just, you're going against the innate desire of your completeness, your wholeness, your higher self, you being godlike. Yes. You know, you being godlike is you don't have to abstain from anything, because you're just complete and whole as you are.
Yeah.
You don't need a bottle.
You're already perfect the way you are.
Yeah.
Some of our very powerful literature, and we've talked about this before too, is, you know, the bottle is but a symptom. The needle is but a symptom. The woman is but a symptom of my true addiction, of my true dis-ease. And the real issue is my selfish self-centeredness. The real issue is I need the world to behave in a particular way so that I feel whole, so that I feel complete, so that I am okay.
But you're going, it's the difference, the red pill, the blue pill, the matrix. Yes. You're going down the wrong hole.
It's the wrong direction. Yeah.
It's Alice in Wonderland.
It's very paradoxical to say, okay, I'm going to surrender that control. I don't need the world to behave a particular way. And in that surrender, we began to tiptoe a little bit into the idea of freedom, or the experience of freedom. I want to walk through the world a free man. I don't want to be dominated by the world and the people in it. So how do we do that? What's a practical tool to start navigating the world with some freedom? Self-inquiry. Get it down. Get it out of my body. Give it somewhere else to live. This crazy thinking, this selfish desires, my selfish motives. If my real issue is my selfishness, maybe looking at it, bringing it into the light, is the first practical step, first practical tool to start addressing it. If I'm not willing to look at it, it's not going to ever change.
100%.
So writing it down is the entry into, okay, I know I need to change. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Now let's take a look at it. Now let's take a look at my behavior.
Yeah, and our literature says it requires a profound internal transformation. That's what you're talking about. At the heart of this transformation is deep self-inquiry, a fearless, thorough examination of oneself. And I like the word fearless. And we've talked about fear a lot. This process is about more than simply identifying our flaws. It's about understanding our behaviors, uncovering patterns, and shedding light on our underlying beliefs.
Yes.
And I want to have people think of belief, the word belief, kind of in a negative way. Like these are illusions. I'm having faith in something that's not real. Because I think a lot of people think belief is like a good word.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want, I don't have a belief in some religious thing that I just have to trust in.
Mm-hmm.
I can look at creation, I can look at the universe, and there's laws that are in place that show me there's trees that go, they go, they die, and they come back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's reincarnation. I can look at that and see that in nature and say, oh, okay, I can believe in that.
Totally.
I don't need a belief, because that word is, people think like I need to believe in Jesus, and then or I need to believe in, whatever it may be, the candy man,
Yes. Yeah. It has kind of like a hopeful connotation.
Yes.
And for our reason, for the lesson, I liked what you said. To simplify it is a belief is just a thought you keep thinking.
Yes.
That's it.
Good. Yes.
Pretty simple. A belief is just a thought you keep thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the sky is blue. It's like, sure,
yeah.
Cool. You believe it. I believe I need to worry about money.
Yes.
How many times have I thought that?
Oh, I thought it today.
Yeah,
I was
87
thinking
times
driving
today
on the way back from the gym.
Me too.
I was thinking about
gas is
I
almost
need to do
$4.
this. Yeah. I need to be careful with this. We were going to do
Yes.
this, and we went out to eat yesterday, and that costs $100.
Yes. Yeah. So a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. Keep it simple. Some of this work allows me to shed light on the negative thinking, on the thoughts that aren't serving me anymore.
So like taking one of those big spotlights and just putting it right on those underlying beliefs.
Very good.
And the belief thing, I think, is also, I'm going to have hope in something that's going to make me whole. It's the same. It's that same stream that I'm going down. That where I'm going up the stream, as Abraham talks about. Yes. But I'm paddling really hard in hopes that through abstinence and hopes through this religious belief or this belief that I have in myself, and we've done, I think our number one episode is on surrender with the numbers, but we've done several episodes encouraging people to listen to the surrender, but this is really good. The process is about more than simply identifying our flaws. So I want to stop there because people will immediately think I'm going to write a list, especially addicts. We're really good about loving ourselves in the bad way. And we're also really good. There's this paradox. We're also really good at telling how horrible of a person we are.
I could tear myself apart.
Yeah. It's so funny how there's the both. I put myself first in life, but I'm the worst possible person in the world.
Absolutely. In my addiction, I lack humility. So my lacking in humility is I'm King Duane. Everyone bend to my will. And then a minute later, I'm the worst thing in existence. I don't even deserve to live. I'm so bad, And it's like we flip to we're creatures of extreme addicts and anybody addicts, and that's still my ego. I'm still behaving in my selfish, self-centered ego. Either I'm all I think about in a positive way, or I'm all I think about in a negative way. But I'm still just thinking about me. It's still my ego.
Yeah, and it's when you shine that spotlight on your behaviors, on patterns and beliefs, and that's what our literature talks about. Behaviors, patterns, and beliefs. Those three things right there are make up you. And it's pretty simple. Once you get it out there and get the light on it, it's easy. It's not I don't want people to think this is an overwhelming process. And we're going to walk people exactly through this process.
Yeah.
And so conducting an honest, non-judgmental self-assessment. What does the word non-judgmental mean to you?
That's a tough one. Ideally, I'm approaching this inquiry from a place of neutrality. So I'm not beating myself up for my poor behavior or for what I see when I get it down on paper. But that's a tall order. most people are going to be pretty judgmental of themselves and their behavior, which is going to bring up a lot of fear and resistance. I'm not willing to do that because I don't want to look. I don't want to see. I don't want to see how bad I am. I don't want to see how selfish I've been. I would rather just continue the unconscious behavior and turn a blind eye to the harm I'm causing. But if there's hope, if there's any hope for recovery, and if my desire is truly freedom, if I do really want to experience freedom and navigate the world in a productive, healthy, free manner, I have to be willing to look at these things that are kicking my ass. My spiritual advisor told me right away, he said, Duane, something very special, very spiritual happens when we start to look at the parts of ourselves we don't want to see. And then I had another advisor tell me, out of observation comes transformation.
Yes.
The very fact that I'm willing to look at it,
yes,
means it's already starting to shift. It might not be healed or cured, but it is shifting because I'm no longer keeping it in the dark.
Yeah, this is Shadow Work by Carl Jung.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, like, you guys go to YouTube, buy the books, whatever. I mean, he takes a very spiritual perspective to this, but he explains that what's going on in your head. And, you know, most people don't want to do shadow work. They don't want to deal with their shadow. They don't want, like you said, they don't want to see it. Do you think it's mainly fear?
Absolutely.
Do you think
it's fear wrapped up in, now I have to change everything. If I'm going to start to address this, that means I actually have to take responsibility.
Do you think it's like Adam in the garden with Eve? There was a fear when God called their bullshit out, you know, and then he instantly went and blamed the woman.
Yeah. He said the woman.
Yeah. So when you shine, like God shined the light on, and then they realized they were naked. And then response was, what? Wasn't me. It was the woman that you created this woman.
He shifted. So
he blames God.
Responsibility immediately.
He blames God, blames the snake, blames the woman.
Took no responsibility.
Yeah, none at all.
That's hilarious.
That's and he's sitting there naked.
Exactly, yes.
And it's like, I'm not going to take any responsibility. So for me, whenever I see, like what you were saying there, I see not only fear, but I see pride.
Very good.
And you have to be ruthless with pride, because pride. We were talking about this at the gym. We usually just work out and then come here and do the podcast. We were talking this at the gym. Working out was, how my pride steps in and thinks I'm better than someone else. And this is the same scenario. And I think pride causes you to cut deals with yourself. You know, I have kind of a problem with, I drink every day, but my work is really good. You know, and I've been able to keep this under control. And I know I kind of, you know, or you don't even look at it. You're just like, oh, I like to have a drink every night. You're not seeing that. You went to the bar, you came home, you drank 3 drinks. At the bar, you drank 3 or 4. You know, and then you get up in the morning, you take some ibuprofen, and you go to work. You know, so you don't even realize that's an alcoholic.
I'm keeping my job.
Yeah,
I'm receiving a paycheck. I'm successful in the eyes of the world. I couldn't possibly have an addiction.
Yeah, I can drink, and my wife and kids are fine.
Yeah, we cut deals with ourselves all the time. We say, how do you get to Nazi Germany and the destruction of 6 million people? One little step at a time.
Yes.
One blind eye at a time. And for me, on a personal level, I wasn't willing to turn a blind eye to my selfish behavior any longer, because I had to feel the emotion of the hurt I was causing others, because I wasn't numb from the alcohol anymore. So if we remove the substance that makes us numb, remove the addiction so I don't have to feel, now we're starting to talk about navigating the world. I'm not willing to navigate the world in that much hurt. I can't be that uncomfortable. I would rather drink than go through the world that uncomfortable. So now I have to start addressing my behavior. So I'm not causing harm everywhere I go.
How do you, because you've done this and you've done this multiple times, and I've talked to you about this. Whenever you begin to take a clear and honest look, and let's start with past actions.
Yes.
As an addict, how does the honesty step in? Is it out of a moment of grace and you feel like, and you can get personal if you want with your story on this specifically, but what makes you clear and honest? Like when does an addict turn around and say, I'm going to be clear and honest, and they start looking at their past actions?
Usually it's with good guidance. Somebody
like a kick in the ass
yes.
from God. Yeah.
Well, yes. Yeah, definitely the experience of trying to obtain recovery is the kick in the ass. Like all it takes is everything you got. But when the honesty piece is presented to me, it's usually because I'm in a good circle. I have good people around me guiding me through this process.
That's good, yes.
It's not something that I came up with and said, one day, Duane, I'm going to be honest. Yep, I knew it. I knew this was the answer. I don't have any freaking answers. All I'm doing is falling on my face every day, trying to navigate the world that's not behaving the way I need it to behave. So with good guidance, good leadership, good support groups, we always encourage people seek help, seek meetings, seek environments that are recovery based, seek therapy, anything. There are many tools around us, and it's foolish not to take advantage of all those tools around us.
Yeah, and there's so many groups that are available in cities.
Yeah, absolutely. Big
cities.
Mean,
whatever addiction you have, there's a group that you can get and be a part of.
So good guidance presents me with the opportunity to be honest. No one. I had an 8-year drinking career.
So the guidance gives you the opportunity. Yes, you said
they gave it to me. They said, "Here, we're going to give you an opportunity to be honest." I hadn't been honest in 8 years. I had been scheming, running gun, getting what I want. My words were tools of manipulation so that I can continue my addiction. My words weren't honest. My words didn't stand for something.
Just constantly
lying, integrity.
Constantly.
No, they were just
bullshitting.
Tools. All lies, all bullshit. They were just tools to get what I want. So this was the first opportunity I had in 8 years to be honest with myself.
That's hard. That's a tough.
Dude, it was a spiritual experience. I had a notebook and I wrote down what they asked me to write down. By the end, it looked like someone took a water bottle and poured it on my notebook. Tears just come down my face. I couldn't believe that that's the type of man I was, behaving in my selfishness.
So you're able to get it out of your body.
Yeah.
Your body released it.
It left my body. Parts of it left my body physically. Doing that self-inquiry and getting it down on paper.
So let's kind of get a little bit more specific. Clear and honest look at past actions, choices, and behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you began that moment of was it just kind of like the people I hurt, my family? Like, how did that start off? Like,
yeah, there's really clear instructions in different spiritual teachings, and the spiritual teaching that I was exposed to, we got real specifics. We got down to individuals and entities. And then we got down to specific emotions as well. Is this a resentment emotion? Is this a fear emotion? And we started pulling back the layers, situation specific. So it can be a large inventory. It can be a large task to get all this down on paper. But if that's what I have to do in order to seek recovery, God willing, I'm going to do it because I don't want to return to the addiction. So it was individual specific, the practice that I was exposed to. And then there was a portion of the inventory that discusses the cause. Why did this happen? There was a portion of the inventory that discusses what it affected. How did this affect? What did this affect? Did it affect my family? Did it affect my bank account? What did it affect? And then there's a portion of this inventory that we call most important. And that portion is, what role did I play in this situation?
I love that.
What role did I play?
Yes. That's taking 100% responsibility.
In the fight with my mother.
Yes. Well, let's I think this is better. Let's do this scenario if you don't mind. Because you're best friends with your brother.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think this would be a really good one because I mean you guys have an amazing relationship now.
Yeah.
So let's take you back.
Yeah.
The alcoholic Duane, and let's have you writing how specific could you write about your brother? What were you writing about him? What were you doing to him? How were you harming him?
I was cruel. I was cruel to him, and I'd never considered his safety. I never considered his inner peace. I never considered his desire to be a kid and have fun.
Because he was younger, right?
He was younger. He's 2 years younger than me. So my drinking career was really majority of my high school and into my early 20s. And I robbed him of his adolescence because my behavior was so crazy and the household was so filled with turmoil. He thought his role was to be the protector. He thought he had to protect the family from me. And that's the type of man I was. I was the type of man that stole his brother's adolescence because my selfish, self-centered behavior didn't care about anybody else. So I was doing that type of that. Those are big scars.
See,
those
that's
huge.
I know,
hurts.
yeah, and I appreciate you sharing it. But that's clear and honest look.
Yeah, and then on top of that, physically abusive.
Right.
We were boys. We played high school football together on the same team. We grew up together. We did everything together. Like we would get physical. There's a time, hopefully, in individuals' lives where you have to put that to the side. It's no longer a question of who's going to win in a fight, but in my unconscious drinking and selfishness, that came up a lot. And so the physical harm was there also. And that's heavy, that's heavy duty stuff. That's my shadow. That's where I can go in my addiction.
But that's so beautiful because what you said is so intimate and such a personal relationship. And then the way that you shared it is you're taking 100% responsibility for everything that happened. And then you shared how your brother's reaction based off of your selfishness. I mean, you went, and so writing all that down just on your brother's side of things, how healing would that be? You know what I mean? Just in that relationship. And that catapulted you to where you're at now, where you guys are best friends.
There's a real miracle that can take place in that
that's
process.
What it is. It's a miracle.
God's healing energy can come in if I'm willing to look at myself honestly, if I'm willing to address the selfishness.
So you wrote that down.
Yes.
How long did it take for you and your brother's relationship to be good?
It was later in the process of recovery, but not much. Like 3 months after that, 6 months after that. And then after making restitution, sitting in front of him and going over this stuff and trying to set right the harm, that's an important process also. Right. And that's later.
We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that. There's such a miracle of healing that can take place through that process. He was my roommate a year later.
That's wild.
The girlfriend that I had at the time got pregnant. She was living in a different city. My brother lived in the same city. He was like, come down here, live with me. I was like, are you serious? He was like, yeah. And then when my daughter was born and I had to watch her and I was at my wit's end and I didn't know how to take care of this little infant, he would step in and he would say, here, give her to me. And he would help with the screaming child. They have a very special relationship, my daughter and my brother. And then I went back to school. My brother has his master's degree and his doctorates. Master's from Johns Hopkins, doctorates from UNM.
That's crazy.
He's at Harvard right now. He's incredible. I'm so proud of him. But he's the student of us. He's phenomenally educated and up to that task. And he was like, well, I'll tutor you. You go back to school. I'll tutor you. I had a live-in babysitter tutor. And we became best friends again. I didn't know it when we were growing up because we were so close in age, but I always had a best friend.
Yes. Yeah.
I was so lucky to have the childhood that I had with him. my selfishness took me away from that for a while, but then God and recovery brought me back.
So you remove the addiction, remove that bottle, and this is what you get.
With spiritual help. Yeah, absolutely.
Healing.
With healing
that's
work.
So amazing.
Absolutely. This inventory, this self-inquiry,
right?
That's the healing. That's the beginning of the healing work. It's the first actual step. It's like the first actual task I have, other than just pray and pontificate.
But you don't know this. You don't know the beauty. Like right now, 1,000 bottles could be thrown at you. You would say, just with your brother, you'd say his relationship is way more important than any bottle. Like you could say that now. You're completely healed. Like you could throw 100,000 bottles at me. I do not care. If you're going to compare alcohol to my brother's relationship, my brother's relationship is a million times better.
It's a comical comparison. It's a comical, doesn't even make sense to have that.
Where in your addiction, I would like, fuck you, brother.
Picked the bottle every time. Yes. That's a good point, Jason. That's a very good point. That's wild. Scary to think. That's very scary to think. Yeah. And then another nice, humble perspective is I could easily go back there. I could easily go back there. That shadow inside of me still exists.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it's not removed. It's just I'm willing to do work to keep it at bay.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. As we all should for all kinds of things.
Yeah, but that also gives me strength. That also makes me formidable. I'm something to contend with because I do have the shadow.
Yeah, I was watching Witcher. I don't know if you've seen that show.
I haven't, but I know
it's on. It's really good, and the guy that played Superman does it. So it's kind of like monsters, killing monsters, mythical world. But there was a king that asked his two people that were right below him, and people, if they've watched this, they'll know this part. So it's like the king and then these two people. Well, a baby died in this kingdom that was supposed to be for the elves. It was supposed to be like the savior, gonna like the elves are in like they're being held captive by the humans and all that stuff, right? So it's kind of Lord of the Rings, all that kind of same thing.
Awesome.
But the baby dies that night. Somebody kills it. So the king is out of town. The human king is out of town, comes in, and these two people scheme and say, we don't know who killed the baby, so we'll go ahead and let the king say we did it because we're helping the humans and blah, blah, blah. So the king's walking with me like, yeah, we took care of the baby and all that. He goes, no, I had that killed. I was the one that did that, and you both just lied to me. And I was thinking of that, what you were just saying. It's like the clear and honest look.
Yes.
Like I can run these schemes all the time, to my brother, to my mom. I can run these schemes all the time and probably be halfway okay. I mean, you were at the point to where you weren't okay, being in the hospital and everything else with your alcoholism. But there's a lot of people listening to this that are okay in their addiction. They've learned to kind of halfway manage.
Sure.
They've tamed the dragon to the point to where they can ride it. And on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
You see that crazy dragon, that they were trying to tame and all that. And they've got it where they can ride it. But they're at the point now to where it's like, I don't want to live this way anymore.
Yeah.
And you had to get to that point. Was that the point when you're like, I'm done making excuses. I'm done self-condemning myself and feeling sorry for myself. I need to understand and learn. I want to grow. Did that hit you, or were you unconscious to that?
I think that's happening whether I'm aware of it or not. I was not aware
consciously
of it.
Aware
I was not, my motive was not like, let's grow.
Yeah, right.
Let's have a spiritual awakening. I'm ready. That was not my motive. My motive was just not die drunk. And then it evolves from there. And we learn pretty early on, if we're lucky, that if I don't continue this work, I'm still going to be miserable because I'm still selfish. Okay, I'm not dying drunk today. Good deal. But my brain is crazy. My ego is flared up. All of you motherfuckers aren't behaving the way I need you to behave. I'm uncomfortable. So
you're right.
I have to do daily work to keep that in check.
I love that.
I have to do daily spiritual practices to stay right-sized. Not King Duane, but not the peon either. I'm just a member of this team, a member of the bus, and This is part of that work. An inventory, writing it down, giving these emotions someplace to live other than in my body, getting honest with myself. Those are spiritual tools. These are daily practice tools that can save my life. Not only save my life, later down the road, not too far down the road, give me a life worth living. It's like, yes, I didn't have to die drunk, but now I start liking the person I am.
That's important.
It's both my life and my happiness depend on this work. It's not just my life. My life and my happiness depend on my spiritual development.
I think you nailed it on the head there, because a lot of people, whether even in addiction or not, I see this. A lot of people have this thing where they don't like themselves.
Mm-hmm. Very normal. Very normal.
And then like liking yourself, is that happiness? You know what I mean? Like you mentioned those two things, like liking yourself and happiness. And I'm just wondering, because I can go down I call it self-pity for me.
Yes.
Which turns into me not liking myself, which turns into depression.
Yeah.
There's like a spiral. But I want us to get into there's three questions that you can ask yourself, and I'll throw them out there and then you can talk about them. Number one is, in what ways have I acted out of self-interest?
All of them.
Talk about self-interest.
Yeah.
Selfishness, self-interest.
Yeah. That's an easy question, but it's usually an easy answer. And I like the comical approach.
Right.
So have I behaved selfishly today? Yes. Move on. And it's like, yes, but I see it. Yes. Most of my thoughts were selfish. Yes. Right. Most of my decisions in traffic today were selfish. Mm-hmm. Have I acted in self-interest? Did I put myself in front of others? Yes. But at the same time, we still need to navigate the world.
Right.
I'm not just a monk floating on top of the mountain. You go first.
Right.
Like we do have to navigate the world, and hopefully in a successful manner. So this is about seeking balance with, is self-interest the same as run you over selfishness?
Yeah, there's a positive and a negative to this. That's what you're saying.
I still need to be able to take care of myself in a healthy way.
Put myself first in situations
where I'm
standing up
healing,
for myself.
Yes, if I'm not healing, I can't be healed for you in our relationship.
Right.
So I have to do personal work, selfish work, in order to put myself in a position to be of service to others. So part of it is like, keep it light. Yes, you're selfish, but keep it light. Like, every single person on planet Earth is selfish. They're not worried and thinking a lot about Duane. You know what they're thinking about? They're thinking about themselves.
I think what you do for a living is a perfect example. If you're not training, how can you be a personal trainer?
Right. You cannot transmit.
And I've seen like fat personal trainers, and I'm not being mean, about obesity or something, but let's use the word unhealthy.
Sure.
I've seen unhealthy trainers. I've seen trainers sitting there eating like Taco Bell and McDonald's. And I'm like, you can't eat McDonald's and be a personal trainer.
Right.
To me, you know what I mean? It's like that's like poison.
You can. It's just a losing strategy.
Yeah, it's just a losing.
It's just a losing strategy.
But I mean, it's like I expect, if I'm on a plane and one of my kids is sitting next to me, I expect to put the oxygen mask on first.
Perfect. Yes.
And then put it on her. So the selfish work, we're using selfish in a good way. Like doing this shadow work, that's selfish. But it needs to be done. And you can be narcissistic and just focus on yourself all the time in a bad way. But the good way is like, I need to heal so I can heal others.
Very good. That's,
I need to be of service to others.
Very good. Self-reflection with the motive of being able to help others later.
Yes.
It's like this experience is going to benefit me and others later.
And others, right.
It is also both.
Yeah, I like that. So in what ways have I acted out of self-interest? Next question you can ask and write these down. Where have my actions stemmed from fear or insecurity?
Very powerful. Very powerful. I stopped just before I came to your house, man, I stopped the gas. I was putting gas in my car and I stopped the gas nozzle at $40 instead of just letting it fill up all the way. Oh, I was a little too fearful. Probably would have been $42.37.
Right.
And I have a hard cutoff at 40.
Yeah,
That's
I'm at
it.
$40.
That's all I could possibly spend.
Yeah.
Gas, fuck. And so where are my actions stemming from fear? Very, very good question.
Or insecurity. I like that
and
word.
Yeah, insecurity is huge. Am I letting that control my life? Am I going through my entire day like I did at the gas pump? That's a miserable existence. It's a miserable existence, walking through the world in fear. Enough of that can erode the brain, and that's what anxiety is.
Yes.
That's what anxiety is. And then you go to the doctor and they say, take these pills, don't worry about it. Smoke this weed, don't worry about it. And it gets worse. And so I want to address my fear and insecurities in an honest way, in a not numb approach. How do we start to do that? Put it down on paper. Write it down. What are you afraid of? Why are you afraid of? What's your role in the fear? My role in the fear is I don't think God is going to fucking take care of me.
Right.
I need to make this happen. I need to force this into existence. I need to get what I want.
I'm not going to be okay if I'm not in this relationship.
Very good. Very
saying
good.
that there's that fear and insecurity that most people think are love. I look at fear and insecurity, and I was telling you earlier, I had an email and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrific. They're going to, and I run this fear and insecurity loop in my head. And then I create these fake stories that aren't even real. Okay. Worst case scenario, one is real. I can't help that. You know what I mean? Another person thinks what they think. Another person does. And their actions are their actions, and they're not perfect. You're for sure not perfect. So how can I expect anybody else? It's so delusional to think that I'm struggling through life in my addiction, but I expect everybody else around me to act perfectly through it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a double standard.
I have superhuman standards.
Yeah.
For myself and others. And then I'm upset when they don't live up to them.
Yeah. And I've noticed the older I get, the more it's fear.
Very good.
Like for me, I think that's number one.
Absolutely. Me too.
If I had to boil down, why did I stop it at $40? Why did I do the email? Why was, instead of being present with my girlfriend on the way back from the gym while we're driving, why am I not talking to her and worrying about money? It's all fear-based.
Absolutely.
Why am I at my job, worried that somebody's going to say something against me, or like everybody's against me? And, I'm outshining everybody. So doing such a great job that people want my job. Why do I have a meeting after this and online, and I feel like that person's going to throw me under the bus because I haven't been giving them enough attention? So, and that's in a relationship too. Oh shit. I haven't, oh my God, it's all that shallow breathing. And you talk about this, it's that shallow breathing. And then just this obsessive ability to be narcissistic and the fear gives me an excuse to just think about myself.
Very good. That's powerful. Yes. Because if I'm in fear, I'm in my mind.
Yes.
And if I'm in my mind, that's the only place my ego exists.
Yes.
So again, I'm not much, but I'm all I think about. I'm thinking about how things are going to go wrong for me.
Or this expense, or this, I can't possibly handle all this goodness,
And I would also say the fear and the insecurity, these are obsessive tendencies, obsessive thoughts that cut us off from the sunlight of the spirit.
Yes.
So I cannot experience God's love. I cannot experience abundance. I cannot experience freedom if I'm simultaneously possessed by fear, if I'm simultaneously walking in an insecurity. So one powerful tool is get them down on paper so I actually know what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with selfish, self-centered fear. I'm afraid of losing this money.
Yes.
I'm afraid of not getting this relationship.
Yes.
I'm afraid of not getting this job. I'm getting really clear on what these fears are. I'm afraid of not being the man she needs me to be. I'm afraid of not being as good as her last boyfriend.
Yes. Yeah.
And getting really clear on these insecurities. So very powerful tool. Get it down on paper. And then as they continue to crop up, because I'm not rendered white as snow as soon as I write it down, it's still going to plague me. But I'm willing to do the daily work to deal with these things that are kicking my ass as they crop up. I might not be able to write it down every single time, but a nice tool is God relieve me of my fear.
Yes.
God relieve me of my fear.
That's
God relieve me of my fear. I have to say that all the time, the time, multiple times a day, thousands of times a day. If I'm lucky and I'm really on the beam, it's a good day if I can do that. If I can ask the vertical dimension for help in a genuine way and catch it, that's great. That is spiritual development. That is spiritual work. God, shine your light on my insecurities. God, shine your light on my insecurities. That has saved my relationship countless times. I knew you liked his penis more than you liked mine.
Right.
Ridiculous.
Well, it causes you to be like something with that, for instance, and I've experienced that. We all have the jealousy and all that. It causes your ego withdraws from that relationship.
Correct.
Instead of coming into, his penis may have been way better, but he was an idiot. There's a reason why they broke up. I always tell people this. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It's so funny you brought that up. And it was a girl that was having an issue with a guy. And I was like, that guy broke up with that other girl that you're jealous over before he even met you. He knew that was incompatible before he even met you.
Yeah.
Think about that. Mm-hmm. Now you're resurrecting her from the dead and making that a thing again.
Yes, because my brain needs the fear.
Yes,
my brain needs the insecurity. Mm-hmm. I'm programmed, hardwired. I have 34 years of conditioning to operate in that fear.
Dude, that's so crazy.
So now we're rewiring the brain.
And that's the tough part, but it can be done.
It can be done.
Neuroscience says you can rewire the brain.
Absolutely. That's the God relieve me of my fear. That's the new thought. So if a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking, worry about this, worry about this, worry about this, resurrect this old dead relationship, resurrect this old dead relationship, worry about this. That's a thought you keep thinking. The solution is think the new thought more.
Yes.
That's the answer. Thought is God relieve me of my fear. Mm-hmm. God relieve me.
Shine a light on my insecurity.
God shine your light on my insecurity. God shine your light on my insecurity. That becomes a belief. If I think that more, really it's hard to make that my first thought, but if it's my first thought, it's incredible.
Yeah, no, I've had that many times and had to use those affirmations too. The thing that I want people to understand, and that the third question, and this is the one that I struggle with the most, and I'll share why here in a second. The third question is, have I behaved dishonestly? And if so, how? So for me, what I've realized is I spent most of my life being dishonest.
Very good. That's very good.
And I'm really good at manipulating and lying. Mm-hmm. And I can get usually people can't catch on, and they'll still like me, even though if I manipulate them. And I've done that in relationships, in just about every relationship. But I can get away with behaving dishonestly and usually be okay at the end. I think I'm okay. I don't get caught. I don't get, people don't call me out. I may lose relationships, which I probably have, because there's just people that don't talk to anymore. Maybe they caught on to my bullshit and I haven't even realized it. Maybe if you had a conversation with them, they'd be like, yeah, I did in the relationship with Jason, just haven't talked to him very much because he's just full of bullshit, But I found I can get farther in life by being dishonest because I've never tried being honest.
Interesting.
You see what I'm saying?
Again,
I was homeless and stuff like that. And then I developed this ruthless attitude of like, well, fuck everybody. I'm going to do what I need to do to pull myself up. That worked in a negative way, because I've learned about some other teachings where there's service to self and service to others. The service to self, you can get power in that. The ego can pull you out of, but it's a losing battle because I've never been genuine with anyone. I've never been transparent to the point to where I feel any intimacy with anyone. I've always been guarded and dishonest to protect myself.
Sure. From the gutter, that attitude and perspective is useful. But then as you evolve, it was necessary and it saved your life.
Right.
So we don't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. It was necessary. But now...
But I developed bad tools to keep
Yes.
progressing.
Now it's a losing strategy.
Yeah, 100%.
Now I, with my spiritual awakening, with my development, with my desire to seek, to be better, I want to be a better man today than I was yesterday. With your desire, you know that that's not the best strategy anymore.
So how did you handle, when you went through this process of self-assessment, how did you handle dishonesty, like the behavior in dishonesty?
Yeah, this is such a big one. And
this one,
it's important in early.
This one hits me hard.
Yes, this is such a big one. It's important in early recovery not to approach this as like a punishment tool, like a penitente, and I'm just going to whip myself with my analysis of my dishonesty. And it's very important to say that this is not a punishment tool. This is just affording me a direction to head in. I want to be a better man today than I was yesterday. Maybe I was like a little dishonest.
Right. Yeah, a little.
Okay, tomorrow I'm going to try and be a little better. I'm going to try and
I don't need to exaggerate the story.
Yes,
the story's fine on its own.
Yeah, very good. And, really what sometimes dishonesty is called for.
Right.
Sometimes it's better to not tell the individual the whole truth, because I could bring a structure down on them and their world collapse.
Yeah, it's like movies where they're hiding Jews from Nazis.
Yes.
No, there's no Jews here, sir. There's no Jews here.
Sometimes it's better.
You're right.
To be dishonest. However,
but that's rare though.
No, and we're approaching this from my selfish disease perspective.
Yes, right.
My recovery. So, have I behaved dishonestly? And if so, how? Really, we want to get kind of clear on what type of dishonesty. It's not a little white lie to my 2-year-old. It's like if you don't clean up your room, we're not going to be able to leave. It's like that's a dishonest. We're going to leave the house whether he cleans his room or not. I'm just trying to get him to do something. So we want to be clear on what type of dishonesty.
Really good,
yeah. So how am I being dishonest? We would encourage the perspective of harm. Is my dishonesty causing harm?
So that's what you put the line at.
Yes. Yes. Like if I'm dishonest with the IRS,
yes,
I'm going to be harmed.
Yeah.
Maybe
100%.
Like in a year, 3 years. Can you imagine 10 years from now? That's going to be a big harm. That's going to harm me.
That's a harm. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm being dishonest and causing harm, how? What behavior?
I like that.
What behavior am I partaking in that is causing harm?
Yeah, that's so good.
So my dishonesty is harmful when it's wrapped up in my selfishness. When I'm more concerned with getting what I want than your inner peace.
Yeah, which is always in dishonesty. You're not really caring about the other person.
No, they mean nothing.
I'm just wanting to manipulate the situation in my favor.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's like, you're human too? No, you have human emotions? No, I don't. I'm the only person that is human, that has human emotions, and that matters.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're talking about gaslighting. I was like, bro, I can flamethrow. Like, there's like a little light and a little bit of gas. Like, I got a flamethrower.
Yeah,
like, I can manipulate the fuck out of someone, to the point of where it's shameful. Like what you're saying, it's causing harm.
Yes, it's causing harm.
And then how many relationships have people that have addictive behaviors been in where every relationship they've caused harm?
Yeah. Another difficult piece about my dishonesty is I have to then perpetuate the lie. It's like I'm spinning that web all over again. It's like I'm spinning this web of dishonesty. I'm spinning this web. That lie bred this lie, and that lie bred this lie. And before I know it, I've told 100 lies just to maintain this face I'm trying to present to the world, and it's all bullshit. It's not.
Yeah, and it's sad. And it's sad for me, because I'm seeing this. It's so sad. I mean, it makes me like almost tearful, but it's so sad because I can flip it when somebody's asking me. I don't even need to lie back. I can make it be so manipulative that it's like, why are you even asking me this question? What's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like, I can gaslight them enough to where I'm making it where there's some, you need to go. Why would you even ask me that? You need to go do some work on you. We to figure that shit out.
That's my ego, and my ego can sneak into my spirituality.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you said, like you look at yourself. Don't you have a spiritual awakening practice? You need to do work.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Or why would you even question our relationship?
It's
Like,
still judgmental, still
especially in
fearful.
relationships, it's been hugely dishonest.
Yeah.
Not so much in like cheating and stuff like that. What I'm talking about is just allowing myself to be first in the behavioral aspect of things, and then trying to gain control of the person and manipulating them to have control so that I'll feel okay.
Yeah.
Like I need this woman to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And then the relationship's okay. And how do I get that behavior?
Very good. Yeah.
And so then I have basically, and I've talked to a lot of my exes. It's really funny. All of them have said the same thing, which obviously shows a pattern, whether it's Susan or, you know, who I'm just making up names, but whoever, Cindy, whatever. It's so funny. They all said they walked on eggshells and they never felt good enough for me. And that's what I created.
Yes.
I created that environment with my dishonest behavior.
That's your role.
Yeah. And that's what I need to write down.
Yeah. My role is I created an environment where people felt like they had to walk on eggshells around. Yeah. That's taking responsibility. With a clear understanding of the problem, I therefore have a clear direction to head in for a solution. I don't want to be that type of man anymore. How do I get better? Head in the other direction. That manipulation, that dishonesty, it's harmful when I'm using it to get what I want.
Yes.
Instead of just letting someone exist. Maybe their behavior is bad, but I match the vibration with my controlling manipulation. I'm not being honest to the situation. I'm trying to control the situation.
Yeah, where you would look at someone as Jesus did. I mean, that would be the highest aim.
Yeah.
Where you would make them a better person.
By your vibration.
I always look at him doing that. You know, in every interaction he had, he would challenge people and stuff like that, but it was so loving and so caring and such a different paradigm. And he just saw the best in people. It's like, what type of relationship would I have if, like you said, I didn't notice the, you know, every little thing that they did wrong that pissed me off, but instead I looked at them as the best of who they are.
Yeah.
So and then how would I change that vibration in the relationship?
Extreme examples are the best example. And Jesus, they said people will come to him dripping in illness. And he saw them for their potential, not their illness. And, you know, that's a tall task. That's
so good.
Extreme example. Let's say I have a high aim. It's actually out of this world. That aim is so high. I'm never going to achieve that aim. That aim is perfect. That's perfection. I will never be perfect. I'm human and I'm flawed. I'm going to stumble and mess it up every day. But at least I have an aim.
Yes.
At least I have direction now. I've got it down on paper. I don't want to be manipulative. I don't want to be dishonest. I don't like the man I am when I'm behaving that way. What's the opposite? Okay, I'm going to have honesty. I'm going to try and practice integrity. I'm going to try and be kind. That's my high aim. Now I have direction to head in because I was able to look at it clearly. I was able to get it down. And now I have direction in my life.
I love that. Well, let's close. The next one, we're going to do a part 2. Part 2, we're going to talk about Duane's fear of abandonment. We're going to talk about Jason's feeling unworthy for any love or happiness. Yes. But we're going to get into specifically how to identify patterns, behaviors, and underlying beliefs in this self-assessment. And I encourage everyone, the one thing we ask of you, we just ask one thing, is that you share this with other people. Subscribe, you know, to our YouTube channel. If you like video, if you like audio, Spotify, Apple, it's on everything. We're in India. Yeah. I have people listening. We have the Jeezer or something like that. I think is the top podcast thing in India. We have a lot of listeners from there. So we have worldwide listeners. I saw it the other day. It was like 82 countries.
Wow.
That listen to us.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. So it's really cool to be able to see the demographics and stuff like that. So I encourage you guys to like, subscribe, do all those things. We're on Instagram, Recovered Addict Podcast. You can just look it up and you'll see us on there. Thank you, Duane.
Thank you, man.